What if I told you that in 1968, a KKK leader walked into Muhammad Ali's training camp with a loaded gun, planning to kill the heavyweight champion? What if I told you that 45 minutes later, this same man walked out crying, his entire worldview shattered? And what if I told you that 30 years later, at Ali's funeral, this man would reveal a secret that shocked the world and proved that sometimes the greatest victory isn't about throwing punches, it's about opening hearts? This is the true story of James Crawford, a man who came to Memphis to commit murder and left as someone completely different. If this story of unexpected grace moves you, hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts below. Memphis, Tennessee, March 15th, 1968. The air was thick with tension and something darker hatred that had been festering for generations. Muhammad Ali had set up his training camp at the old Brewster Recreation Center, preparing for one of the most important fights of his career. But the boxing ring wasn't the only battlefield he was about to face. James Crawford was 34 years old, a third-generation member of the Ku Klux Klan from rural Mississippi. His grandfather had ridden with the original Klan during Reconstruction. His father had participated in lynchings during the 1920s. And James himself had been raised on a steady diet of racial hatred that poisoned his soul from childhood. To Crawford, Muhammad Ali represented everything he despised: a successful black man who refused to know his place, a Muslim who had rejected Christianity, a draft resistor who wouldn't fight for what Crawford considered his country. But most infuriating of all, Ali was famous, wealthy, and respected everything Crawford believed a black man should never be allowed to become. But what happened next would change two lives forever. For weeks, Crawford had been watching news coverage of Ali's training camp. He saw the crowds of black children gathering outside the gym. He saw the interviews where Ali spoke about pride and dignity. Each image filled Crawford with rage that built until something had to give. On that March morning, Crawford loaded his .38 caliber revolver, told his wife he was going to Memphis on business, and drove the 120 miles from his home with murder in his heart. Crawford arrived at the training camp around 2 p.m. The Brewster Center was buzzing with activity, and in the center of it all was Muhammad Ali, dancing around the ring with the grace that made him famous. Crawford stood in the back, his hand resting on the gun in his jacket pocket. He'd planned this moment for weeks. Wait for an opportunity when Ali was alone, pull the trigger, and escape in the chaos. He told himself he was doing God's work. But as Crawford watched Ali work, something unexpected happened. He began to notice things that didn't fit his preconceived notions. Ali wasn't just focused on his own training. Between rounds, he would call out encouragement to other fighters. When a young kid struggled with his form, Ali took time to show him the proper technique. When an elderly janitor struggled with equipment, Ali immediately stopped to help. Crawford's hand remained on his gun, but doubt began creeping into his mind. That's when everything changed. Ali finished his sparring session and was toweling off when he noticed Crawford standing in the back corner. There was something about the man that caught Ali's attention: the rigid posture, the careful distance, and most of all, the hatred radiating from his eyes. Instead of ignoring Crawford or having security remove him, Ali did something that no one expected. He walked directly over to where Crawford stood, his hand still gripping the gun. "I haven't seen you here before," Ali said, his voice friendly rather than suspicious. "You? A boxing fan?" Crawford's mouth went dry. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. "I came to see what all the fuss was about," Crawford managed to say. Ali smiled. "Well, you picked a good day. We've been working on some new combinations." He gestured toward the ring. "You ever box yourself?" "No," Crawford said, barely above a whisper. His hand was sweating inside his pocket. "Never too late to learn," Ali said. "Boxing teaches you discipline, respect, makes you face things about yourself you might not want to see." The words hit Crawford like a physical blow. He stared at Ali, seeing him up close for the first time, not as a symbol of everything he hated, but as an actual human being. Ali's eyes held no malice, just genuine interest in having a conversation. Crawford's carefully constructed plan began falling apart. "What's your name?" Ali asked. Crawford hesitated. "Well, James Crawford. I'm Muhammad Ali, but I guess you already knew that." Ali laughed. "You hungry? We got some good food in the back. Nothing fancy, but it'll fill you up." This simple invitation shattered something inside Crawford. When was the last time someone had offered him food without expecting something in return? When was the last time anyone had treated him with such casual kindness? I can't stay long," Crawford stammered. 5 minutes, Ali insisted. Come on, I want to show you something. Against every instinct screaming in his head, Crawford followed Ali toward a small room behind the gym. His hand never left his gun, but the weight of it felt different now. Heavier. Wrong. The room was modest, with folding chairs and a table covered with sandwiches. But what caught Crawford's attention were the photographs covering the walls. Pictures of Ali with children, soldiers, civil rights leaders, and in many of them, Crawford noticed something shocking. Ali was pictured with white people, not posed publicity shots, but candid images of genuine friendships. That's Dr. Ferdy Pacheco. My doctor, Ali said, pointing to a photo with a white man. Been with me for years, good man. And that's Angelo Dundee, my trainer, Italian guy from Philadelphia. Crawford stared at the images, his worldview crumbling with each photograph. These weren't the pictures of a man who hated white people. I don't understand. Crawford sighed, his voice shaking. I thought, I was told you hated white people. Ali turned to look at Crawford directly, and for the first time, he seemed to really see him. The tension in his shoulders, the fear in his eyes, the way his hand remained hidden. Who told you that? Ali asked gently. Crawford couldn't answer. How do you explain a lifetime of indoctrination? James, Ali said, sitting down, let me tell you something. I don't hate anybody. I oppose injustice. I fight against discrimination. But hate is a poison that destroys the person carrying it more than the person it is aimed at. Crawford remained standing, his hand still on the gun. But you changed your religion. You rejected America. I found my faith, Ali corrected, and I love America enough to want it to live up to its promises. You think standing up for what's right is rejecting your country. You wouldn't fight in Vietnam, would you? Ali asked quietly. If you were sent to kill people who never called you names, never denied you a job because of how you looked, would you go fight them instead of fighting the people right here who were treating you like you were UN human? The question hung in the air. Crawford had never thought about it from that perspective. I came here to kill you, Crawford said suddenly, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. The room went dead silent. Crawford expected Ali to jump up, to call for security. Instead, Ali just nodded slowly. I know, Ali said softly. You know, I could see it in your eyes. The way you've been standing, the way you've kept your hand in your pocket. But more than that, I could see the pain. Nobody carries that much hate without being in tremendous pain themselves. Crawford's hand began to shake. I have a gun, I figured, Ali said. Question is, what are you going to do with it? For a long moment, neither man spoke. Crawford could hear his heart pounding. Why aren't you scared? Crawford asked. Ali leaned back. Because fear doesn't help anything. Besides, I've been threatened before. But you know what I've learned? Most of the people who threaten me aren't evil. They're hurt. They're angry about things that have nothing to do with me. They've been told lies about who I am. But I'm KKK, Crawford whispered. I know, Ali said, and I'm guessing your daddy was KKK, and maybe his daddy too. Crawford nodded, tears beginning to form. So you never had a chance to think for yourself, did you? Never had a chance to meet a black person and form your own opinion. You just inherited the hatred. The tears were flowing freely now. Crawford felt something breaking inside him, something that had been hard and angry and bitter for as long as he could remember. I don't know how to be anything else. Crawford sighed. I don't know who I am without the hate. Ali stood up slowly and moved toward Crawford. For a moment, Crawford tensed, his grip tightening on the gun. But Ali just placed a gentle hand on Crawford's shoulder. Let me tell you who you are, Ali said. You're a man who drove 120 miles because he believed he was doing the right thing. You're someone strong enough to admit when he's wrong. You're capable of changing, which means you're capable of growing. That makes you braver than most people. Crawford broke down completely then. 45 minutes after walking into that training camp with murder in his heart, he was sobbing in the arms of the man he'd come to kill. Ali held him while he cried, not saying anything, just letting Crawford release decades of poisonous hatred and pain. When Crawford finally composed himself, he slowly removed his hand from his pocket and placed the gun on the table between them. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Ali picked up the gun and carefully removed the bullets. Don't apologize to me, he said. Apologize to yourself for carrying this burden for so long. What happened next would remain secret for almost 30 years. Ali drove Crawford to the bus station and bought him a ticket home. But before Crawford left, Ali gave him something that would change his life forever. A copy of the Quran and a business card for a mosque in Jackson, Mississippi. "If you want to understand what I believe," Ali said, "start here, but don't do it for me. Do it because you're ready to find out who James Crawford really is." When he is not carrying around his grandfather's hate, Crawford took the book with shaking hands. "Why are you helping me? I came here to kill you." "Because," Ali said, "killing your hate is more important than punishing you for having it." Crawford returned to Mississippi a different man. He began reading the Quran that Ali had given him. He visited the mosque in Jackson. Slowly, he began deprogramming himself from a lifetime of indoctrination. He left the KKK 6 months later. His wife left him shortly after. Many friends and family disowned him, but for the first time in his life, James Crawford was at peace. In 1973, 5 years after that day in Memphis, Crawford converted to Islam. He took the name Jamil Abdul-Rahman and devoted his life to interfaith dialogue and racial reconciliation. For 30 years, Crawford kept his promise to Ali and never revealed the details of their meeting. Even when Ali's Parkinson's became public, Crawford maintained his silence about the day Muhammad Ali saved 2 lives. But on June 10, 2016, at Muhammad Ali's funeral in Louisville, everything changed. The service was attended by world leaders and celebrities. Former President Bill Clinton spoke. Billy Crystal delivered a moving tribute. After the ceremony, as mourners gathered at a private reception, an elderly white man with a white beard and traditional Islamic dress approached Ali's widow, Lonnie. Few recognized him, but something in his demeanor caught her attention. "Mrs. Ali," he said quietly, "my name is Jamil. I need to tell you something about your husband that no one else knows." Lonnie, surrounded by close family and friends, invited him to speak. 48 years ago, my name was James Crawford, and I was a member of the Ku Klux Klan who came to Memphis to kill your husband," he said, his voice breaking. The small group fell silent in shock. "I want you to know about the day Muhammad Ali saved my life," Crawford continued. "Not from death, but from a hatred that was killing my soul." For the next 20 minutes, in that intimate setting, Crawford told the story he had kept secret for 3 decades. He spoke about the gun, the hatred he'd inherited, and the way Ali had responded to a would-be assassin with kindness. Lonnie Ali wept as she listened. "He never told me this story," she whispered. "He made me promise to keep it secret until both of us were gone," Crawford explained. "But I wanted you to know what kind of man your husband truly was." Word of Crawford's revelation spread gradually through the close-knit community of Ali's friends and family. Within weeks, a journalist who had been at the reception approached Crawford about sharing his story publicly. 48 years ago, I walked into a gym as James Crawford, a man full of hate. I walked out as someone who had glimpsed what it meant to be truly human. Muhammad Ali didn't just spare my life that day. He showed me how to live." Crawford looked at the small gathering around him. "In Islam, we believe that saving one life is like saving all of humanity. Muhammad Ali saved my life that day, but through his example, he also saved my children's lives and my grandchildren's lives from inheriting the poison of hatred." Crawford reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn copy of the Quran, the same one Ali had given him 48 years earlier. "This book taught me that Allah created all people equal," Crawford sighed. "But Muhammad Ali taught me what that actually looks like. He taught me that the strongest response to hatred isn't more hatred, it's love." The intimate group sat in stunned silence, deeply moved by this revelation about the man they had come to honor. Muhammad Ali had won many fights in the boxing ring, but his victory over James Crawford's hatred was perhaps his greatest triumph, because it created ripple effects that continued long after the final bell. After the funeral, Crawford established the Ali Crawford Foundation for Racial Reconciliation, helping bring together former white supremacists with the communities they once targeted. "Muhammad Ali taught me that the most powerful weapon against hate isn't a gun or a fist," Crawford often tells audiences. "It's the willingness to see your enemy as your brother. That's not weakness. That's strength." Today, at 82 years old, Jamil Abdul-Rahman continues to speak about his transformation. He carries the same worn Quran that Muhammad Ali gave him in 1968, along with a photograph of the 2 men embracing, an image revealed only after Ali's death. The story of Muhammad Ali and James Crawford reminds us that even the deepest hatred can be healed by human compassion. It shows us that sometimes the greatest victory isn't about defeating your enemy, but about helping them defeat the demons inside themselves. In a world divided by anger and prejudice, their story offers hope. It proves that love is stronger than hate, that understanding is more powerful than violence, and that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is offer kindness to someone who came to destroy you. If this story moved you, remember that each of us has the power to change someone's life through simple acts of human decency. We all have the choice to respond to hatred with love, to answer violence with understanding. That's the real lesson Muhammad Ali taught the world, not just how to fight, but how to heal.